From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another sizzling edition of the Wow Report, where we count down the top 10 things that make us go wow. There's the dulcet tones of Tom Campbell.
Hello.
Our Chief Creative Officer, and of course, the no less sultry siren song of James St. James.
Somewhat staccato at times.
And that's Blake gurgling in the background.
Hello, Blake.
Ooh, so we're coming to you live-ish from our World of Wonder storefront gallery studio space here on Hollywood Boulevard.
Sunny California.
Yeah, it's a lovely day.
Yes.
Watch us previously episodes on Radio Andy on Wired Presents on YouTube. Enough of that. Let's do the countdown. Number 10, Tom.
Number 10.
Number 10, Joe Biden.
What?
The comeback kid.
The comeback kid. I literally, on Sunday, decided who I was going to vote for in the primary.
Yeah.
And it was Joe Biden. And while in California, Biden did not win, he made a very good showing. The week started with Joe killing in South Carolina, with Pete. There's some clarity, oddly, when Pete Buttigieg took himself out and threw himself behind Biden, and then so did Amy, and then so did Steyer, right?
Yeah,
Tom
yeah.
Steyer. So it's just like, it was in that moment where I literally did not know who I was going to vote for. I wanted to vote early because I'm about to jump on a plane and go someplace.
Right, we did our mail-in votes. I did my mail-in vote
You did.
for Buttigieg. To me, it's all about Buttigieg. It's not so much Biden. The Biden effect is accumulation of other people's superpowers and abilities.
That's okay. That's the Avengers scenario, which we'll get into.
But we have to back it up a little bit because before Biden had his comeback, it looked like Bernie Sanders was surging, and it looked like it was almost the week before. It was almost a lock-in, a shoe-in that it was going to be Sanders.
Yes,
and we all had to sort of
who did win California,
and we had to recalibrate a little bit
Utah.
and say to ourselves, I was not a Sanders person, but then I had to just sort of sit down and have a come to Jesus moment and say, okay, well, if it's Sanders, I'm behind him. And then all of a sudden everything switched around and now it's Biden, and I wasn't a Biden person. I was a Warren person this whole time.
But
I went Warren, then Buttigieg, and then Biden and Sanders.
she pulled out of the campaign as well.
Did she count?
Yes.
Just now.
Just now.
And I love Buttigieg because it sounds like a big Frida. Buttigieg, 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 Buttigieg,
Yes.
Buttigieg,
That's
Buttigieg.
how you decided the president, because it sounds like Big Frida.
No, my brother in New Hampshire, which had the primary obviously before Super Tuesday, said he didn't know who he was going to vote for. I won't say where he did, but he was like, who would you vote for? And at that time, New Hampshire primary, I was like, I guess I'd vote for Pete for historical purposes. And I am still so proud of Pete.
I know, and I like him too. I think he's a good
love
person.
him.
Yeah.
I think he's the smartest.
Can you imagine
He's
having a smart person
compassionate.
again? Yeah.
Not
He is-
loving the gays who criticized him and attacked him.
Well,
But everybody seems to have their haters out there now. And they seem to be in full force. And I don't know how many
Lord
of the
knows we
haters
do.
are really real people, or are they bots, or are they Russian
Right.
bots? I don't know anymore who's real and who isn't.
And that's in our micro democracy of social media, which you're saying, which is not necessarily true. And everybody has an opinion. They always did, but we didn't have to weigh it as equally as everybody else's. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you can kowtow to the. You can learn from hearing criticism, but I don't think you can kowtow to them. But I do salute Pete for an historic campaign. Who would have thought that a gay candidate
would be kissing his husband on stage, and it wouldn't be a big deal?
Yes.
It would just sort of be water off a duck's back for everyone.
Nothing's easy. The pendulum do swing back and forth, but Pete Buttigieg has opened doors that were previously closed to LGBTQ people, and I think it's amazing.
Who do you think is going to end up as a VP under
Well,
Biden
I'll tell
or
you who's
Sanders?
not going to be a VP under Sanders or Biden. It's not going to be anybody on that stage that we have seen.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh.
I think nobody wants to have a co-presidency. These are all narcissists who have put.
But that's what we need. We need
No,
a co-presidency.
no, but-
we need an Avengers team pooling
that-
their superpowers
But
together.
it's not the way politics works.
I see.
None of them are going to cede any of their power. Bernie Sanders is not going to have Elizabeth Warren as a president. It's not going to happen. They're going to pick somebody from a state that they need, from.
But how are we going to?
From Michigan, from
think-
Pennsylvania, from Arizona, from any of those, from Florida.
I think, with all seriousness, it might be Laura Dern. She ends up in everything now. She's in every movie, every TV series. Why not the White House? Laura Dern for vice president.
I mean, Omarosa was there.
I mean, it is an Infinity War scenario because Trump has almost all of the Infinity Stones at this point.
Yes, but it's very true. But like I said, Sanders and Biden are not going to give Pete Buttigieg or Elizabeth Warren or any of those people that much power. They want they are. So, I honestly believe it's going to be somebody from Wisconsin, somebody from Michigan. It's going to be somebody who can hand them the state that they need.
We're getting the signal from Blake. I just want to wrap it up with this, which it's still very contentious. There's a lot of Biden supporters. There's still a lot of Bernie supporters. I say, and people are like, oh, it's just down to 2 old white men. Here's my point of view, optimistic point of view.
As an old white man,
we have 2 wise elders who either one, if they get the nomination, have the opportunity to surround themselves with diverse voices, people, ages, everything, and they can lead our nation forward.
Are you talking about Mary Kate and Ashley?
No. And the last thing is, there was something on the internet, which doesn't mean anything, that says Michelle Obama should be Biden's vice president. There's someone we know who works closely with Michelle Obama, so I haven't talked to her for a while. So I texted her and I said, could you talk Michelle into running with Biden? She goes, I'm with her right now, I'll ask. She was with her.
Well, presumably she'll be answering right away.
Yes, so hopefully we'll hear back.
Okay. Onwards.
Yes.
That was our Super
Tuesday.
Friday wrap-up. James, what is number 9 that made you go, wow?
Number 9.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about Days of Our Lives because I know how much you enjoy it when I give you soap opera updates.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are James' Days of Our Lives recaps.
Yes. Well, I wanted to talk about this because it's one of those things that only on soap operas, it is so funny what's happening right now. We've talked a little bit before about Ben Weston, who is the hunky serial killer with the heart of gold. He's just
The necktie killer.
He's the necktie killer. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. So handsome, so just soulful and misunderstood. Such a good guy.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, right
Like
now,
Ted Bundy.
Well, no. But right now he's in prison for the murder of Jordan Ridgway, which he didn't do. This is one of the killings that he didn't do, and he's on death's row. And he is coincidentally, he's sharing a cell with Will Horton, who is the town's beloved homosexual, who is in prison for a murder that he didn't do either. He accidentally ran over his mother-in-law while he was texting and driving. But he really didn't do it. It was Maggie who was drinking and driving, and she's blackout drunk and she doesn't remember. But that's a whole other story.
Maggie!
So what's happening is, so Will and Ben are in prison together, and Ben keeps saying, I'm so sorry I killed you, because apparently he killed Will years ago, but then Will was brought back to life by the mad scientist Dr. Rolf. And he keeps saying, I'm so sorry I killed you, and Will is saying, water under the bridge, don't think about it. What matters is that we're friends now, and they have all these wonderful heart-to-heart talks, and they're such good guys together. Well, okay, now Ben is about to be executed for the murder of Jordan Ridgway, which he didn't do, and he's brought into the execution room, and he's strapped to the gurney, and he's like, they raise the gurney up, and it's like he's Christ on the cross. That's what a good guy. That's how good he is. And they're about to administer. They have to administer three serums into him, and the first one knocks him out, the second one paralyzes him, and the third one kills him. So everybody's in the execution room saying, "No, please don't kill him. He's innocent. He's innocent." His girlfriend is banging on the glass, saying, "I'm going to save you. I'm going to save you, Ben. I'm going to save you." So she runs out of the execution room. She goes to the police station as they're administering the first injection, and she's talking to the police officer, and they're trying to figure out who the actual murderer is, and they figure out that it's the Jordan's baby daddy had come back and had killed Jordan, and so she has to figure out who the baby daddy is. So
how many injections in are we right now?
We're only in the first injection. Okay, and so we switch back to Ben, and Ben is having these flashbacks of when he first met Sierra, his girlfriend, and so for a whole 3 days, he's sitting there, he's having flashback after flashback, as Sierra is figuring out that it was actually, it wasn't the Manny, the hot Manny, Evan is actually Christian Maddox, who is the baby daddy of of David.
I'm
So-
not even pretending to
No.
Well, one shot in, they're
But
almost
one
close
shot
to
in.
clearing him.
Okay, so then
And he's,
she
and
goes.
He's delusional for 2 days.
He's standing there like Christ on the cross as he's remembering. So then she
What's he
runs
wearing?
across town. He's just in like whites. He's just
Okay, all right.
So then she runs across town to find the baby daddy and he's got a gun now and he's holding everyone hostage, saying, "I am not Evan the Manny. I am Christian. I am David's baby daddy, and I killed Jordan Ridgway." And so she manages to get to him. There's a tussle. The gun goes off.
Bang!
Bang! And we don't know who it is. So then that's Friday.
That's Friday.
Okay, so then Monday we come back. She grabs the gun and she pulls it against his head. She says, "We're going to the prison right now and you're going to confess." So she runs to the prison. They give them the second injection. He's about to die.
Injection
He's
number
starting
2.
to go under. He's having another day of flashbacks.
Sure.
She arrives in the prison. She breaks into the prison with the gun. She drags him through the prison as the second injection goes in, and she breaks into the execution room. "I have David, who isn't David. He's Christian, and he's the one who killed Jordan Ridgway. Confess now!" And so she pushes his face up against the glass, and he says, "I did it. I did it. I killed Jordan." Just as they're about to do the third one, they're waiting for the governor to call. The governor
Is
calls.
there a close-up of a phone?
Yes, and Marlena Evans is sitting there saying, "You cannot kill," and the warden is saying, "But we've had 3, blah, blah, blah." So finally now we are at the point where he's confessed. They're waiting for the governor to call, but they've given the third injection and his heart has stopped, and now they have to revive him because he's dead, but they can give him an injection that will counteract everything like that. It's just very exciting.
Is he in? Are there any from heaven?
No, we haven't gotten to heaven yet,
Okay.
but that will probably be today.
Yes. Okay.
And that's our show for today. Thanks for listening. Same time, same place
Oh my
next
God,
week.
James!
That
For
was-
all of you out there, high-powered executives, your BMWs driving, listen to this. You know you watched Days of Our Lives at one point, and St. James just sucked you back in.
I think you don't need to watch Days of Our Lives. I want to hear the recaps. That's so much better than the
pretty
real
good.
thing, I'm
But
sure.
you have to know, because Ben is so handsome. He's so wonderful. And yes, he's a serial killer, but he's the hero of the show, and it's just so good.
Your kind of guy.
All right.
Yeah.
That's Days of Our Lives at number 9. And number 8,
Number 8.
who's seen Invisible Man?
Oh, I was going to see it on
Oh
Saturday.
my, James, this film is for you. Next week, if you
Yes.
see it, the entire show will be given over to your recap and
There's a siren behind us.
There's a lot of sirens this morning.
No one
That's
can hear
Hollywood
that,
Boulevard.
yeah.
Always in a state of
Sexy,
crisis.
sexy.
Yes, hot on the edge.
I mean,
So-
I kind of like the background noises.
Invisible Man. Well, you know the Invisible Man. Went to see the Invisible Man. Opens this week.
Claude
Opened last
Rains.
week.
Last week.
Is Claude
Last week.
Rains in this one?
You saw it with the
Claude Rains
regular
is
people.
The Invisible Man. That's the original from Universal.
1939, yes.
Yeah, that's right. Was it 39?
Oh, I never clocked that lyric.
1933. This film originated as a reboot. Do you remember when Universal was going to do Dark Universe?
Yes.
Where they were going to
With
reboot all their
Frankenstein and all
properties?
those- yeah.
I thought they
Well,
were.
that
They
went off the
Okay.
rails.
Because Tom Cruise destroyed it.
The
with
Mummy
yes.
was a sort of multi-million-dollar
It was terrible.
disaster. So they abandoned that plan, and instead we get an Invisible Man made by Lee Winnell. Now, who, I hear you ask, Lee Winnell is the director. Who is Lee Winnell?
Who's Lee Winnell?
Lee Winnell and James Wan. Any bells
going, keep
off?
going, keep going.
Together, they created the Saw franchise.
Oh.
So you know you're in for a really
Twisted.
scary.
Yes.
The first Saw was amazing, I think.
I think many of the Saws were amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great high concept. It really works.
I loved 6, but I wasn't that into 7.
Interesting.
What about Saw Forever?
And Lee and James are Aussies. They're best friends. I kind of get a slightly, reading between the lines. Don't want to out anyone. I don't know any information to out anyone, but I do get a gay vibeology.
So
which
weird
is
that
great.
we would look at things through a gay
know,
lens.
I
It's so
know.
on us.
And in this remake, it's actually not a remake. It's a reinvention of the whole concept that is so perfect for this time of narcissism and gaslighting, because that's what it is. Elizabeth Moss, who we all think
I've heard
surely
that she's actually Oscar bound.
fucking believable.
It's a great
she is
role.
so good. I mean, she's always been good in everything she's done, but this is
She's
made for her.
Still Scientologist, though.
She is a Scientologist, but I have
Let me
heard
just
this
check in.
is-
Yes, she is still a Scientologist. Elizabeth
Yep.
Moss is still
Well,
a
I've heard
Scientologist.
this is a fantastic role.
Scientologists seem to make big stars and actors like Tom Cruise, for example. Anyway, yes, James, you're
Mimi
completely
Rogers.
right. She is so good, and
Kirsty.
it was so scary. I think if you're a single woman and you live alone, you should not
James,
go and
don't
see
go.
this movie.
What
Because
happens
she-
is that her boyfriend is
after
abusive.
staging his own suicide,
Yeah,
a crazed scientist uses his power to become invisible to stalk and terrorize his ex-girlfriend.
and
When
nobody
police
believes her.
refuse
Yes.
to believe her
And
story.
so things are
She
happening.
has to take matters into her own hands.
So she's saying that his ghost. She thinks he's dead. It's a ghost or something situation.
She says, first of all, he's committed suicide. So when she tries to say people, he's still alive, people are like, girl, you crazy. You taking, you're on medication. It is, I have to tell you, it's so good. And the big shock is, so you see this movie, and I thought, oh, this must be a big budget movie. $7 million made in Australia. I mean, where you get tax breaks, so you get more money, but
it's like $7.5 million.
It is a low budget movie. And of course, you know who's behind it, Jason Blum.
Of course.
Blumhouse,
Sure.
who is, let's call him the master of terror. But it is really, there is a scene in it that will make you leap out of your seat. The thing is, you think, Invisible Man, like, you think, yeah, I know the
We
tricks
know
and
the
the
story,
tropes and
yeah.
what I'm
Right.
going to do. But they
Just
somehow
the
change
sunglasses
it up.
and the cigar.
And there's a great moment where Elizabeth Moss first thinks her boyfriend's back, and she steps out on the porch, and you see her breath fogging on the air, and then you notice a puff of breath behind her. It's little detail. It's done so in such brilliantly clever little details, and then there's twists and twists and twists.
All I've seen
I
are
have
the
to tell you-
outdoor advertisements in LA where the Invisible Man is here, kind of disappears, the font. I know none of this detail. So
Yeah, yeah.
No, really, go see it. And I love the fact that James Whale, who made the original Invisible Man, was known, who he also did Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein,
Yeah.
and All Quiet on the Western Front. He was known as the Queen of Hollywood. And I do think there is a gay aspect to the story because visible, invisible, closet, non-closeted, that whole idea of
Duality.
visibility and duality, and again, the idea of then being able to flip that into gaslighting people and misleading them and telling them that what you see is not what you see. It's absolutely, really fabulous. That's The Invisible Man in theaters everywhere. Go see it,
I
please.
can't wait. I'm
All
going
right.
this weekend.
There's no time like the present. RuPaul's Drag Race live. And now open at the Flamingo in
yes,
Las Vegas.
very visible. Very visible.
There you go, exactly.
Great show.
RuPaul'sDragRaceLive.com, get your tickets. Blake, got a question.
Yes, so we talked about Days of Our Lives. James gave us a recap. The first episode aired on November 8th, 1965.
I was there. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Meaning that there are how many episodes?
What?
It must be one of the longest running shows in
It
television.
is. I think it is the longest running at this point.
All right, we're going to take
Yeah.
a wild guess. Be right back after the break. You're listening to Wow Report on Radio Andy Sirius XM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, here with Tom Campbell,
Hello, hello.
James St. James,
How you do?
and Blake Jacobs.
Hi.
Hi, Mike.
We're doing our thing, counting down the top 10 things that made us go
Wow.
Blake had a question for us.
I did. James gave us a little recap of Days of Our Lives, and Days of Our Lives premiered on November 8th, 1965, meaning that there have been how many episodes?
You know, and they always do like, hey, congratulations to us on our 10,000th episode or something like that. I'm gonna say, for 50 years times 200, I'm gonna say, is that 100,000 or is that? No. Is that 10,000 or
That'd be a lot of
It's so
1,000?
embarrassing to have to do math
I think
out
it's
loud
10,000.
here.
I'm gonna say 10,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's 260 times however many years that is. So let's call it 55 years. So I'm going to say
More than 10,000. You're going to say 12,000.
Okay.
And I'll just say 11,500 just for...
I want to say 120,000.
13,777.
Tom
I'm
Campbell,
gonna
you
s-
got the
I had
closest.
figured out, but I can't do the math.
You almost win.
Almost.
All right, so I can't count, so we are at number 7.
Yes.
Number 7.
they're back again. I'm just checking with you guys about the Dixie Chicks.
Oh, yes.
And so, ironically, you were talking about Invisible Man and Gaslighter. They have a new single called Gaslighter.
I wonder why.
And you think it's going to be, obviously the Dixie Chicks have not had, and are you a fan, Blake?
I love the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah, they're back and they look great.
They
Not
do.
That matters. And
They haven't had music in 14 years.
14 years, which seems undoable. And during that time, Natalie Main, the lead, has got married and kind of, and these interviews are coming out, but she kind of just didn't want to analyze. Her music's very analytical, and she just wanted to be in her marriage. I guess her marriage is over because this is her divorce album.
Does she have kids?
I
She
don't
does,
know. Does
yeah.
she? And so God bless them. But
When they took a break, though, wasn't it because of Bush and that whole?
of course.
Okay, sorry.
So no, but yes,
well,
yes. Thank you.
actually, that happened in 2003, and their last album came out in 2005, where they swept the Grammys. That was about the Bush.
And what was the name of the single that?
Not Ready to Make Nice.
Not Ready to Make Nice. And there was that amazing Entertainment Weekly cover or
Yes.
Time magazine where they were all naked and all the words were on them that were sort of censorship, because we were dealing with censorship then in the guise of the war that George Bush put us in. But they're back. It's really catchy. It's produced by Jack Antonoff.
I love Jack Antonoff.
Do you really?
Yes, I really do. He was from Fun, remember?
Yes.
And then he's gone on to have hits with
Lord and
Taylor Swift.
he had a
Lana
really,
Del Rey.
he had a really good album by his own too that was fantastic.
He's like 35. He looks like a Katy Patootie, but he's on this. And
Lena Dunham's fiance for many, many years.
I never made that connection.
They broke
Yeah.
up, right?
Yeah, they did break up, but they were a fun couple.
Fun. But at first I thought, well, Gaslighter, because it's been sort of rumored that it's coming out. It's called Gaslighter. If I listen to it, it's really catchy. We're playing it during this hour, but it's it really is about a relationship. It's kind of like the Invisible Man story. It's about this man. I moved to LA for you. I followed your dreams. Where are mine? Gaslighter. Lie. But of course, I thought it was going to be about Trump. But what's brilliant about it is and it isn't. And I good for them.
I know, I love that.
So sort of finding a way to sort of remind us with every chorus without it being, it's not really political, except that word is so pungent and so specific to what we're living through right now.
It absolutely is, but also I think there's a weird alignment between what happens to us in our personal lives and what goes on the political stage. So I think that Trump couldn't be a thing if it wasn't for a gaslighting narcissist atmosphere.
Okay.
So I think the personal is political and the political is personal. Not because of a direct connection necessarily, but just they seem to sort of vibe,
That certainly lets us into what's happening in your life.
Oh, bitch, please.
Because you won't tell us on the show.
Yeah.
Well, at least I'm not gaslighting you.
That we know of.
His interest rates just went down. So all I'm saying is that the album comes out in May. The Gaslighter single is available, and the video is really cool. Check it out.
Yeah, and you should also check out their documentary from like back in the day after the George Bush thing called Shut Up and Sing. It's really good.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
Thank you, Blake.
Thank you. James, number 6.
Number 6.
I have been watching Katy Keene on the CW so that you don't have to. I have watched every episode now.
Let me get comfortable. Okay, tell me all about it.
Katy Keene is from the makers, and it's in the same universe as Riverdale and Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. So it was a comic book that was out in the 50s and 60s. It was that came out with Archie and Archie Andrews and everybody. Whereas Riverdale is sort of all noir-y and filled with serial killers and mob hits and all sorts of it's everything. There's murderers and it's really dark. So Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is all about witches and warlocks and Lucifer and everything like that. This is just a frothy Sex and the City reboot.
Oh, nice.
It tells the story of a fashion. It's very fashiony and, like I said, very Sex and the City Junior. Katy Keene is a fashion designer who makes all her own outfits and outfits for all of her friends, and it's very sort of Moschino-esque. The outfits are really fun. She works at Lacey's department store, which is the most famous department store in the world. She is a fashion designer. She works as a junior buyer, and her boss is the sort of frosty Meryl Streep type, who's very very bitchy and fashiony stuff. All her coworkers are mean girls who say things like, "I deserve the promotion because I'm from the Upper East Side, and you're just downtown trash.
So it's very subtle.
Yes, it's all sorts of Katie's best friends. She lives with her best friends, and there's a drag queen named Jorge, who is played by Johnny Beauchamp.
Drag queens on
drag
television.
Queen is a main character on the
Nice.
show. Johnny Beauchamp was in Stonewall, almost destroyed his career. He was one of the main characters in that.
The movie Stonewall,
The movie
right?
Stonewall, yeah. There's Pepper, who used to be a rich girl, and now she plans to open her own Warhol factory in downtown, and that's her. Everybody has their own enemies who are out to get them.
May I ask a dumb question?
Yeah.
Does she have a superpower?
No.
It's not like that. It's
No.
just a frothy lifestyle.
It's just frothy. And then there's Josie from Josie and the Pussycats, who's moved from Riverdale. She comes to live. They all live in the same apartment together. They all dress in Katie's clothes. Katie has a boyfriend who's who K.O. Kelly. He's a boxer, and he was a male model in real life. It's Zane.
Of course
Zane
it is.
Holtz, I think is his name.
So, sorry, this is pre-existing IP, is it? It's like a remake of something.
It was a comic book in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Sorry.
But a girly comic book.
Comic book,
And
yeah,
more like
and
the
it's-
Archies, which wasn't superhero-y.
Yes, but Archie will come in from the show from Riverdale, and Sabrina will come in from everybody will get.
But
guest star.
they'll be lit differently, right? It's a different vibe this one.
Yeah. It's Sex in the City is what it is.
Yeah, I love it.
But they're all young, fashionable people, and it's sort of a soap opera, but it's all it's frothy fun. It's absolute bubblegum. You can text while you're doing it. You don't have to really pay attention.
You can drive while you're watching
Do you love it?
I do. I'm actually having a lot of fun with it because, like I said, it's just fashion and it's just drag queens, and they all go to this drag show every episode. They go to a drag bar and they all just hang out. And it's just interesting that that's on the CW and that's just kids' life now.
It sounds like the Carrie Diaries. Did you already
It's a
say
little
that?
bit Carrie Diaries. Yeah, well, it is. It's Junior Sex in the City. So
Yeah.
There you have it.
And you said like characters will drop in from Archie and Riverdale. So
Yes.
were these originally connected, the IP, or
well,
is
yeah.
it,
In Archie comic books, they would spin off and have it's Sabrina or Veronica and Betty and.
I mean, it's just so interesting in the sort of rediscovery of all this IP. I never really knew what Archie or Riverdale was.
Well,
But
the original Archie, it was made in the 1940s, and it was about kids, high school kids, and it was sort of just fun.
In the 40s, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
You makes you wonder what else is out there that's just sort of gathering dust.
Come to me, and I'll tell you all the comic books,
Tell me.
all the soap operas, all the low culture, all the lowbrow.
Lowbrow.
You are highbrow, you're middlebrow, I'm lowbrow, and that's what makes this show work.
And Blake is unibrow.
How dare you?
New episodes of Katy Keene are available to stream on the CW on Fridays. Number 5.
Number 5.
Took the kids this past weekend, to see Disney's Onward.
Onward.
Oh, yeah.
The new Pixar movie. Pixar movies must have been formulaically constructed to make me cry. I don't know that I'm even going to be able to talk about this without crying.
Well, this one has the Lena Thwaite character who plays a lesbian troll.
Yes.
The first out lesbian character
But
in
it's just one line
Pixar.
that they can excise for China.
Well, the weird thing is that, I mean,
But it's true. That's what they did.
I love Lena, but it isn't really the main part of the movie.
No, it's one line where she says, "I have to
like
go
a
home to
little-
my wife," and they can take that out for China.
Yes. But in Onward, it's two teenage elf brothers, Ian and Barty, receive a wizard's staff, I'm just reading from Wikipedia here, as a prearranged gift from their father, who died before Ian was born. The staff came with a spell that will bring the father back to life for 24 hours so his sons can meet him. It's just So they use the spell, and like something goes wrong halfway through the spell, and they have a pair of animated legs. That's all they've got. And
Just
they've
the
got
father's legs.
and they got 24 hours to get the rest of him back so they can meet their dad, these two sons. And they go on this quest. I gotta tell you, at first I was like, I don't see the kids movie. I don't really want to see this. Elves really aren't really my things. They got big ears and blue hair, and I'm like, And then it gradually sort of creeps up on you. And at the point at which this kid, the younger kid who's so driven to meet his father, he hates his brother, and his older brother is kind of a sort of doofus.
Yeah.
And at one point, he has a realization and an insight that is so powerful that I was like, and just started sobbing and could not stop. And this is all as the climax of the movie, so I don't want to give it away because it's so good.
Right.
And it really stuck with me. The title, Onward, again, is a bit like, well, what kind of a title? It's like, it's not a great title. But in the film, and this is one thing I will give away, the older brother, who's a bit of a doofus, has a beat-up van, which he calls Guinevere. And at one point, he has to sacrifice this van, which is his most treasured possession, for the sake of his younger brother and the quest. And he looks at the gear stick thing, and there's, reverse drive, RD, neutral N. And there it says Onwards.
Oh.
And he puts the van into Onwards. And when that van took off with a brick on the accelerator to save the situation in which they're very stuck, I was just hopeless.
They're brilliant.
And he has this realization about his brother. I mean, I don't want to give it away, but it's like, so you don't have your father, your older brother's a doofus, but
He's
family.
Yeah.
Right.
Each other.
And I
Family
tell
is
you,
everything.
it is those Pixar movies are so cleverly, they're so brilliantly constructed and meticulous. Every detail counts. It's not some sort of random piece of dialogue you think, oh, that's going to count later. And I tell you, very, very moving.
Were you
and
crying so
powerful.
much after the movie that you let your 5-year-old drive home, or how did that work? How did Elliot?
We went to Din Tai Fung, but it was like they were just making fun of me because I was just literally weeping. And every time I tried to put another soup dumpling in my mouth, the tears would
How
just
do you think they reacted to that? Do you think they were comfortable with that, or
they thought it was hilariously funny.
I mean, when they're trying to bring you back to life, they'll be laughing and laughing.
Well, I guess I'll just have to leave them a wand so they can bring me back to life for 24 hours. Oh, I buried the headline, which is not even knowing any of this. I was reading about the movie afterwards, and the movie is directed by Dan Scanlon, who's been with Pixar for a long time. When Dan was 1 year old and his brother 3 years old, their father died. And when they were teenagers, a relative gave gave them a brief audio recording of their father, which Scanlon says inspired the story of Onward.
It's beautiful.
Isn't that really? Yeah. So there you go. Onward is in theaters everywhere today.
I can't believe we brought Fenton to tears.
Yes, the old
I
curmudgeon.
love it.
There's lots of really good things, including Octavia Spencer playing a fire-breathing manticore. I mean, this very gay-friendly movie. It's really fabulous, and Lena is amazing, of course. So, Blake, quick, give me a question.
Before we all dissolve into tears.
All right, I know that award season is kind of wrapped up, but who has won the most Oscars in history with 22?
Oh, I know this.
All right, you're listening to the WOW Report on Radio Andy. We'll be right back after the break with the answer.
You're listening to World of Wonders WOW Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, welcome back. I'm Fenton here with James and Tom and Blake. We're counting down the top 10 things that make us go
Wow.
Thank you. Blake, you had a question?
I did. Who has won the most Oscars in history? They've won 22.
I think it's Edith Head.
I bet it is that bitch.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say it's Sheila Nevins.
Oh, yeah.
That too. But it's definitely not Meryl Streep. I don't think she's even won.
No, she's won 4.
No, it's got to be some director type or something.
Yeah, I think it's Edith.
Although you are all close,
Yeah.
it's Walt Disney,
Oh, okay.
whose new movie, Onward, Disney Pixar, is out today.
I bet he's glowing with pride. Number 4.
Number 4.
James Lipton.
Oh,
Passed
I'm
away.
gonna cry now.
And that's one of those people, because he'd been out of the spotlight a little bit in the last half decade or 10 years. But when you remember how many actor studios you sat and watched on the old Bravo and the new Bravo.
And a little bit near the end, it was a little bit of a Saturday Night Live punchline because a lot of the people he would get were like the third DP from this.
No, it would be like the cast of a television show or something.
Yeah,
it wasn't quite
it wasn't quite the Meryl Streep and Jack
And yet,
Nicholson.
he always was he was one of the most well researched,
Articulate,
yes,
yes.
and it almost took again slicing things, but like podcast the way we listen to podcasts now with all the great detail and forensics that we take the time for, that was allowed on television, and James Lipton gave it.
And
to
it
us.
wasn't frothy gossip. He really got to the meat of what acting was and what the roles
and somehow
were.
it was interesting. It
Yeah.
wasn't narcissistic. It was.
And the actors loved it because
Yes.
they could actually sit and talk about their
And the thing they said
roles.
about his interviews is that he never pre-interviewed anyone. He did all his research on the side.
Sort of like what we do.
Kind of, but like in all the talk shows and things, no disrespect to them, but they pre-interview you. And I was with the Rue when he was on a talk show, and he's like, that takes all the fun out of it. Why don't they just ask me questions? But I get how it works. But a lot has been said about
Fear
him.
of the void.
There's two things I want to share with
Horror
you specifically.
vacui.
He was married to two women in his life. In the 50s for 5 years to Nina Foch.
I heard Falk, yeah.
Yeah, Foch. And then he married, for the rest of his life, and from 1970 to he died, to Kadaki Turner Lipton.
So he wasn't married to Peggy Lipton.
No, she was a model and a real estate broker. Now, do you know her most famous modeling role, in my mind?
The cover of I Spit on Your Grave.
Close. She was Miss Scarlet on the cover of the board game Clue.
Oh,
Isn't
how
that
fun
good?
is that?
Miss Scarlet in the drawing room with the lead pipe.
Now wait, Nina Foch though. Nina was she was sort of a glamour girl.
Yeah.
She was very chic and uptown sort of woman. But she also famously owned a hotel here in Los Angeles.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, over on La Brea, I think. For
didn't know that.
for 100 years.
Was it
she owned-
chic or like a
No,
rundown?
no, it's
How
just
very-
a regular like Holiday Inn.
How
but-
very Beverly Garland of her.
yes.
Okay, now he had those 10 questions he asked everyone, James Lipton, at the
Or
end
was
of
I
his
thinking
thing.
of Beverly Garland? Maybe I made the whole thing up.
Well, that's what I like about the show. It's facts. It's facty. And he has 10 questions he'd ask each person at the end of the show. I'm gonna go around, so we only do it once. Fenton, what's your favorite word?
Blue. No.
You're fired.
Pamplemousse.
Oh, pamplemousse, nice.
Pugnacious.
James, what's your least favorite word?
Crackle.
This is not going the way I wanted it to. Blake, what turns you on?
My keys.
You're what?
Okay, we're not having fun.
I'm
For
not- I'm
Fenton,
enjoying-
Wait, why do
what
keys
turns
turn
you
on?
off?
Keys turn you
Okay,
on?
my segment.
Baked beans.
Baked beans turn you off? Okay, good.
Oh, but remember that great scene with Anne Margaret where she's rolling in the baked beans? That turns me on.
James, what sound or noise do you love?
The tinkling of water.
Tinkling of
Blake?
water.
Like
Blake?
when it's just dripping off the roof
Blake,
during a snow.
what sound or noise do you hate?
My alarm clock.
Nice. Finally a good one. Fenton,
We're not
what is your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
That's what Sally Field said. James, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I would like to be a cross-country truck driver, just taking packages cross country.
Peeing in a cup.
Stopping at truck
Taking
stops and having
loads.
truck stop hookers.
Blake, what profession would you not like to do?
I would not like to do anything with math, like an accountant.
And yet you give us math questions. And Fenton, last question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say
to you as
when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome to the world of wonder.
Oh, genius. James Lipton, rest in perfection. Thank you for all you gave the
Passed
world.
away on Monday.
Yeah.
No, thank you. James, number 3.
Number 3.
We're going to do a few news of the weird stories today. There was, out of Russia, there was a gentleman who was high on spice. Remember the zombie
Yes.
drug spice from a
Yes.
few years ago? And he decided, a lot of times when you're high, you come up with all sorts of great ideas.
It's almost like you don't have to tell the rest of the story.
No, I mean, like people have really great ideas. I'm going to call my mother and tell her what I think, or
Right,
I'm
sure.
going to call my boss and tell him what I think. People have really stupid ideas when they're high.
Correct.
He decided it might be fun to saw off his own leg, and by God, he cut it off right below below the hip. He started sawing and sawing and sawing and sawing and broke the bone, saw. And then when someone found him, he was clutching onto the leg, and they took him to the hospital. They managed to save his life. They managed to staunch the bleeding. Couldn't save the leg. And that's just sort of like one of those weird, I was so high,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And we all
Cut off my leg.
I cut off my
some
leg.
kind of manscaping.
Another News of the Weird story that happened was
Just breaking news.
a British woman who had gone down to Egypt, where they have a large feral dog problem, and she opened up a sanctuary for the dogs, and she would rescue the dogs. And then one day she tweeted,
You don't need to finish this story either.
yeah, that they didn't have enough money to feed the dogs that day, and she was very worried about the dogs. And when they found her, the pack had turned on her and eaten her alive.
Which reminds me of the Diana Ross song, Eaten Alive, from 1986.
Yeah,
Let's play it on the way out.
It's exactly what Diana was singing about, what happens when you're a dog. And we all know that as much as your cats love you, Tom, when they die, or when you die, they're going to wait a few days, and then they're going to start eating your face.
When they kill me,
They'll
they'll do whatever they want, and that's why I respect them, and that's why I share my bed with
And they
them.
usually start with the tongue, because it'll protrude, and then that is the easiest to eat. And then they'll go for the genitals, and then it's
protrude, I suppose.
I want to put James in charge of the coronavirus because he is so. Thank you. That makes sense. I can live with that. I can work with that information. Thank you, James.
There's only 2 News of the Weird this week, then.
Yes.
But that's enough. I guess that's a
Plenty.
main course.
I
and
think the
desserts.
cat will eat your tongue first is a nice.
There
little-
was no cannibalism in these News of the Wild.
No,
stories, so.
we're moving on from the cannibal.
All right. Moving on, number 2.
Number 2.
We like sometimes to do Oreo taste testing,
yes.
right?
Oh my God.
Wait, you didn't get it the Supreme's Oreo, did you?
Starving.
Is a taste testing segment. Yes, Supreme.
You
the
got one?
brand,
No, you can't eat them. Do you know how much they're cost?
Oreos.
Do you know how much they're worth?
The thing is, they're insanely. Yes, tell me, James.
The people were on eBay. They were going up to $10,000 for a pack.
So I don't
You
have
have
any.
them? Oh,
I
okay.
have none. So we just have to
He ate 'em.
imagine, but it's a Supreme Oreo, so it's red cookie with a white filling with
With
the
the Supreme logo on
in
it,
the middle.
and the Supreme shop on Fairfax. My sister lives
Yeah.
near it.
Yeah.
And driving by, the line for those were literally around the block twice and going down the street. It was
buying
people-
cookies you can't eat.
For buying cookies you can't eat, but people were waiting 24 hours in line for them.
How
The
much
interest-
were they in store, though?
Well, the interesting thing is in the store, they were like $5.48 for a pack of 3.
So I would have
which
bought
reasonably
2,
priced.
eaten 1, kept the other.
But here's the thing. Are you familiar with the Supreme story or the Supreme phenomenon?
Like I said, my sister lives right near there, so I
So-
drive past it all the time, and not a week goes by where there isn't a line for some special
But tell us the backstory because I do not know it.
Well, that's because I've been aware of the Supreme
Yeah.
brand, but I've never really done Supreme
I don't
myself.
get it. I don't get it.
don't think I would. I'm too old. I
We
don't
had
think
someone
I
who
would wear
used to work
Supreme.
here, Jordan
Yeah.
Papadopoulos, wears nothing but
But
Supreme,
right.
every
So
day,
the
all
Supreme
day.
story is that essentially, funnily enough, James, taking you back with me here now, it began as a skateboarding store on Worcester Street in New York in the 90s.
Yes.
In fact, Harmony Korine, the filmmaker, just moved to New York, and he was right around the corner on Lafayette Street. And it was a skateboarding store. And the guy who started it, because I went down a bit of a sort of Google hole, was, what's his name? James Jebbia, who's from England. And he moved to New York when he was 19 years old in 83. Same time I moved to
It was
New
around
York.
like Fresh Jive.
And he
was like,
started working at Parachute. Do you remember
I do
Parachute?
remember
It was a
Parachute, sure.
very
Yes, in
futuristic
Soho.
label. Yes. And they did very baggy things, and Grace Jones wore them, and Madonna wore them, and David Bowie wore them. The brand doesn't exist anymore. And then he started working at Union. Or I think he opened Union, the skateboarding store on Union Square.
Okay.
And then he came up with this idea of Supreme. Now, the interesting thing about the logo that always struck me is it looks like a Barbara Kruger
Yes.
artwork. And I can't believe she didn't sue him because it is.
because she was
It's-
selling. She
I
stole
guess
that herself.
It's
I
just
mean,
a font, right?
yeah.
with white letters in red. So you're saying
And
it's
who
not
would have
really...
thunk? Who would have thunk that it would be what it is today?
No, Barbara herself was sued many times by
Who
different
did she
people.
steal it from?
She was doing it was like a 60s ad or something like that
Okay.
she was stealing from.
Well, anyway...
from the Ariel family.
So, but the genius of James was that, who's never given interviews, by the way, is all top secret and only gave one interview through an interlocutor.
What's
but
that?
He based it like an intermediary, someone who works at the store. The questions were written down and
Oh,
then
okay.
passed, and then blah blah blah. He'll make a few things, but he'll only make a few of them, and he'll sell them at a reasonable price. But then it's the resale market that takes off, and he doesn't make more. So it's always about undersupply. And I was trying to think, how does that work as a business strategy? Because if you make 50 sneakers and you sell them for $50 a pair, and then they're selling for $5,000, you're not getting any of that
Well, no,
resale
but what
money.
happens with the
Right.
store is, like I said, there are lines.
Right.
There people are waiting 24 hours.
Yeah.
They get in. They can only buy one or
That's
two,
right.
but they aren't going to leave after spending 24 hours. You're going to spend a lot of more money at the store.
You can
And-
only buy one of anything, can't you?
Yeah,
When
so
you're in the
people
store.
go
But
in
wouldn't
there.
you just tuck away a few extras and sell those in the market if you were him?
I would. Yeah.
So I couldn't buy
Like
2
shave
packs
buttons.
of cookies and eat one and
Probably not. No.
Well, they've also done, and the other question I have for you guys is, do you think the brand has jumped the shark? Because recently they released a Supreme brick,
Right.
for $75 that immediately sold out.
Yeah,
and they've
it's
done
not going
Supreme
anywhere.
Band-Aids.
Because
and-
the way they market it is to the hip hop community and to the skateboard community and to just teenagers, and that's never gonna. Those our markets are never gonna end.
All right.
Do you remember Fresh Jive in the 90s?
I do, yeah.
Yeah,
And Stussy.
it's just
But where are they now?
I love
still around.
Stussy,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're still around.
But it's not really like Supreme. And Supreme, supposedly, as a brand, is worth $1 billion. And a private equity group bought a $500 million stake in it, which is nice for James from Sussex, England.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That
Okay.
James.
That's Supreme. Okay, we have to take a break. When we come back, we'll reveal the number one thing that made us go wee.
Wee!
Wow. This week. So Wow Report on Radio Andy Sirius XM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back. We've been counting down the top 10 things that make us go
Wow! Or wee!
Reached number one.
Number one.
I'm going to let you lead this, but there are how do you say it in French? A shitload of World of Wonder projects that we really haven't talked about at all. 2 of them being incredible documentaries that will be premiering at the
Tribeca Film Festival. That's right. Wojnarowicz. James, you remember David
sure.
Wojnarowicz,
Yeah, of course.
the artist in the 80s, East Village artist who died of AIDS very tragically early on in the epidemic, co-founder of ACT UP, and who said, if I die, don't waste any time on a funeral. Throw my body on the front lawn of the White House. And that's what they did. They cremated him, took the ashes, and tossed them on the front lawn of the White House. So that's where David Wojnarowicz is buried. And the subtitle of the film is
F-U,
Fuck You, Faggot Fucker.
That's
Thank you.
There's a lot of asterisks on the actual poster.
Yeah. And there's a story to that title that I think is revelatory and very relevant.
It's interesting because Chris McKim is
Yes.
the one who did the
Directed it.
who directed
Yeah,
it,
produced,
and
yeah.
I feel like I've been asking Chris about it for about 3 years now.
Sounds about
and
right.
He keeps saying, we're almost there. We haven't really started, blah blah. Blah. And then about 2 months ago, I asked him, and he said, we haven't really. And then all of a sudden, it's done. Like, how did he do it so fast? How did you guys turn it around as fast as you did?
He has been very busy. It has been at least 2 years, and he's also been working on another film that is also premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival.
crazy?
Called Big Frida Got a Gun, which is inspired by Big Frida's
By
brother.
Jamie Got a Gun.
Was-
No,
Yes, but Big
That's
Frida's younger brother, shot and killed in New Orleans, and Big Frida wanted to make a film about the gun epidemic in New Orleans because I think so much about gun control comes from a very white
Suburban.
perspective. Yes, guns, horrible. But actually, you realize there's a whole nother dimension to the story that is
There are cities like parts of Chicago and New Orleans where it's not about gun control, not gun control. It's about gun culture. Like guns are everywhere, and how do you live and die in that way?
Absolutely.
And Big Frida, of course, is the bounce artist. We did a series on Fuse, 6 seasons, and very in depth. But this joyous sound that comes out of Big Frida, who's collaborated with Beyonce and Kesha right now. But this is a totally different way into New Orleans, and Frida is such an authentic member of New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? It's like such a unique way, which I've always loved about Big Frida stories, that you get to see New Orleans in a way that I don't think I've seen in many ways. And this on top with the subject, which is not preachy. It's not right. It's not here to teach you something. It's here to open your eyes to a gun epidemic, a gun world. And Chris McKim, who was the original executive producer of Drag Race, directed that too. And every time you saw like Chris in the hall and asked him what was going on, he was working on that too.
So James, you'll have to go to the Tribeca Film Festival.
And kudos to Randy and Fenton, because these are independently financed,
They
right?
are indeed, yes.
These are ideas that, you go around, you try to get money from people, and they're like, I don't know. And Randy and Fenton are always so smart and brave and not as cheap as they look. No, teasing. No. But finance and the patience, it takes, something you don't, we work in a world where like 2 or 3 years is not allowed. You can't go to a network and say, in 2 or 3 years, I'll give you a product. Very rarely do they get into that. So
wait, Andrea James, who works on the blog with us now, she has one in the Tribeca Film Festival as well. She has a show that she did with a trans man who does 1,000 plays. What is it?
He plays 1,000 different characters?
He has 1,000 different plays, and every night the audience will shout out numbers, and he'll do some are like 5 minutes, some are 15 minutes long, and they'll say 53 and 175, and he has a different play for each one of those.
That's
and then
great.
they're doing that as sort of like a choose your own adventure film that's at the Tribeca Film Festival as well.
I love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So starting at Tribeca, but eventually, hopefully, we'll be coming to a streamer near you.
And tickets for Tribeca go on sale on
March 17th, 11 a.m.
which is St. Patrick's Day.
Tribeca
I want to hear
film.com.
about this new Michelle Visage show.
Michelle Visage, she is that bitch, has a show, her own talk show in the UK for BBC. Get Off Your Ass with Michelle Visage.
With her sidekick, the Vivian.
That's
the
right.
winner of RuPaul's Drag Race UK. It's amazing the popularity. Michelle's always been popular in the UK. She was on Big Brother, Celebrity Big Brother. She was on the Dancing with the Stars over there.
Strictly Come Dancing.
Thank you.
And she was on the West End.
Yes, and Drag Race has exploded, and she's one of the judges on the UK version as well. So this is a talk show for Michelle that will be on BBC Three if you're in the UK, but will be. Do you watch it on Wow Presents Plus here?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's
you can
amazing.
Watch it on Wow Presents Plus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like real big show, like studio audience,
Real
lights,
talk show,
chairs.
lights, chairs, action. And Michelle has a celebrity co-guest every episode who's with her the whole show. And during the show, they bring on someone who has a problem or an issue, and they
tell them to get off their ass.
They tell them to get off their ass. They go backstage with the Vivian. They get made over, and they walk the runway. Because,
God bless the British and God bless the BBC for having a show that's called Get Off Your Ass.
Goya. Get off your ass.
Goya. No Goya. Get off your ass.
I think there's a trend for rude titles. I was in Barnes & Noble bookstore the other day, and it's like, fuck your shit, and all these like advice books are like,
Get your shit together.
Get your shit together, and fuck this.
Well,
and
if we're
fuck
lucky,
that.
if the first season goes well for Michelle's show, the second season can be Get Off Your Fucking Ass.
Exactly.
Right?
Also, just announced at DragCon, the queens who sang "I'm That Bitch" on the premiere episode
Will
last
you
week.
play RuPaul's version of "I'm That Bitch" on the way out?
Will be
in reference
Yes.
reference to Michelle and stuff.
They'll be performing on the main stage.
But the premiere of RuPaul's Drag Race last year, the second premiere is tonight. The queens that sang "I'm That Bitch" the first group will be performing. I have a feeling maybe the second group might be
Maybe.
performing
Who
too. I
knows?
don't want to give anything away.
And also, they've announced an exclusive viewing party for that week's RuPaul's Drag Race. You can watch the show with all the queens.
At DragCon, RuPaul's Drag Race will still be playing, and
Right.
the queens who are in that season will watch that episode with you.
Right.
At RuPaul's DragCon,
That's
May
right.
1st, 2nd, will be May 2nd.
It's
May 1st.
It's an exclusive ticket add-on, but it's included with your VIP ticket.
Blake, I applaud you for staying so in touch and so in tune.
It's my job.
Well, I think our cup overflows. So thank you for listening. Same time, guys. Same time, same place next
Sure.
week.
Let's do
James?
I'll see y'all then.
James checked out. James ended the show about a segment ago. He's just like, I'm good. I'm not angry. I'm just ready to go home.
Uh,
Silent. He's here if you're listening. James, say something.
Tell us you love us.
I love you, oh my
so
God. Here we go.
So until then, go out and do something that makes the world go
Wow.